Good morning. Today, this morning, we complete this series of #BUMC, and the theme for today is Whose World is Our Parish, which is a takeoff on a quote from John Wesley, as he said, "The whole world is my parish." Our scripture is Isaiah, the 2nd chapter, verses 2 through 4. And I'm reading today from the New Revised Standard Version. And I chose this because a part of this is worded in a way that we're used to hearing it. "In the days to come, the mountain of the Lord's house shall be established as the highest of the mountains, and shall be raised above the hills. All the nations shall stream to it. Many peoples shall come and say, 'Come, let us go up to the mountain of the Lord, to the house of the God of Jacob, that he may teach us his ways, and that we may walk in his paths. For out of Zion shall go forth instruction, and the word of the Lord from Jerusalem. He shall judge between the nations, and shall arbitrate for many peoples. They shall beat their swords into plowshares, and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war any more." This, like I said, that last phrase is why I chose to use this from this translation this morning. Isaiah, Old Testament prophet. It spans, the book of Isaiah is 66 chapters. It spans 3 centuries of history, maybe even a fourth, but the 8th through the 8th, 5th, and 6th centuries are included there, and there's there's some indication that as recent as the 4th century BCE, that there may have been some work done there. Now, one person didn't live that long. There was a prophet Isaiah that we have evidence of. And the first part of the book of Isaiah was written by that prophet. There are, as I said, evidence because of the time span that there are at least 2 other prophets who wrote in Isaiah's name and added to his work. But this comes at a time when the Israelite people were being taken into exile. As Isaiah the prophet, whose namesake the book has, he lived in Jerusalem in the 8th century, and this is a time that the Babylonians were taking over part of the Israelite kingdom. If you'll recall, there were 2 kingdoms at that time. There was a northern kingdom, there was Israel, and then there was Judah. In Judah is where Jerusalem was. It was the smaller of the kingdoms, but Israel, the northern kingdom, was taken over by the Babylonians before the southern kingdom. And so Isaiah lived in Jerusalem during that time of persecution, and the Jewish people were being taken into exile. This was followed by the Persian invasion, which resulted in Jerusalem being destroyed and the remaining people taken into exile. It seems to me that there is some overlap there, that the prophet Jeremiah and the prophet Isaiah might have been contemporaries during that time, because Jeremiah's writing is in that time in Jerusalem when the Persians were coming in to destroy the temple and the city and take the people into exile. The reference in the scripture to the Most High Mountain, unmistakably, that it's pointing towards Jerusalem, the high ground in that area, the Temple Mount, where the temple had been destroyed from. It had been rebuilt once before, and it would be rebuilt again. I stand corrected. Solomon built this temple. It would be destroyed. It would be rebuilt after this, and then the Romans would destroy it at a later date. But it's unmistakably the high ground pointing towards Jerusalem as a place that people would come to worship. But with our 2020 hindsight, looking back, we see Christ pointed to in this, and that the return of Christ, the return of the Messiah to rule over God's kingdom here on earth, being also pointed to here. And Jerusalem is not necessarily figure into that. That's for God to reveal to us at some later time. The last days that it refers to, God's kingdom, God's will, that there will be a peace like the world has never known, and there will be no need for war, nor the instruments of war, and hence the beating of the plowshares and the and swords into pruning. I'm saying that backwards. That their swords will be built into plowshares so that they may farm. Now, we also enter into here with John Wesley. The world is my parish. Wesley was accused, and rightly so, of infringing on other priests' territory. The way that the Church of the Anglican Church was set up in England in Wesley's time, it was divided up into parishes. They were the only game in town. There were no denominations around, not multiple churches on every corner as many of our cities have today. The whole geography was divided up into parishes, and the church appointed the priest to serve in a particular parish. That was your territory. You were not to go into another priest's territory. I'll elaborate more on this on Sunday morning. I'm filling in for Dawn on vacation this week, so I'll be preaching this sermon, but I'll elaborate on that a little bit more on Sunday morning. But Wesley had been going out to where the people were, and increasingly he was not only crossing parish boundaries in doing this, but increasingly the pulpits of the Anglican Church were being closed to him, and till ultimately he had no choice but to go out. George Whitefield, a contemporary, he and Wesley communicated back and forth in a series of letters. Whitefield had already gone out into the streets and preaching, and he was encouraging Wesley to join him. I suspect that Wesley was the better preacher, and Whitefield wanted his charisma out there to preach. And when Wesley finally did, according to his journal, that there were thousands of people that were there on that day. But Wesley's response to this charge about crossing parish boundaries. I want to read you from John Wesley's journal where he talks about this. He says, "Permit me to speak plainly. If by Catholic principles you mean any other than scriptural, they weigh nothing with me. I allow no other rule, whether of faith or practice, than the Holy Scriptures. But on the scriptural principles, I do not think it hard to justify whatever I do. God in Scripture commands me, according to my power, to instruct the ignorant, reform the wicked, confirm the virtuous, Man forbids me to do this in another's parish. That is in effect to do it all, seeing if I have. That is in effect to do it at all, seeing I have no parish of my own, nor probably ever shall. Whom shall I hear, God or man? I look upon the world as my parish. Thus far, I mean that in whatever part of it I am, I judge it meet, right, and my bounden duty to declare upon all that are willing to hear the glad tidings of salvation. This is the work which I know God has called me to, and sure I am that his blessing attends it. Great encouragement have I, therefore, to be faithful in fulfilling the work he hath given me to do. His servant I am, and as such am employed according to the plain direction of his word. As I have opportunity doing good unto all men, and his providence clearly concurs with his word, which has disengaged me from all things else, that I might singly attend to this very thing and go about doing good. Now that's a throwback there. We've been looking at Wesley's general rules. These rules are in our discipline, cannot be changed. Do no harm, do good, stay in love with God, or in Wesley's words, attend to the ordinances of God. And Wesley, doing good, trumped man's law in the parish boundaries. When Wesley declared, "The world is my parish," he was not claiming authority as much as accepting responsibility. Disciple making must always be an inward and an outward directed activity. This gift we have, this Christ we claim, is not a treasure to be hoarded, as it is a blessing to be shared. We are truly blessed to be a blessing to the whole world. And so we have Isaiah to the Hebrew people. They're being taken into exile. Their kingdom has been destroyed. There is a loss of hope. And Isaiah is saying that there is always hope. Without hope, you can't have faith. Faith is a result of hope. And there is reason for hope that the Messiah will come again and that kingdom will be established. The last days, God's kingdom. That's the promise. Our part, as Wesley's rules attribute, is to do no harm, to do good, and to stay in love with God. And that last one, staying in love with God, I'm ultimately convinced that when we attend to that, when we attend to the ordinances of God, which bring us into that relationship, close relationship with God, we will do no harm, we will do good, and the world will be our parish. Well, may God's blessings be upon you, and I look forward to your joining us in worship this morning. As I say, I'll be preaching for Dawn today, and so I will open this scripture up and talk more about the world as our parish and how we can look at our world, our community, our parish, maybe with different eyes. So may God's blessings be upon you.